You're familiar with Thekla.
Bir yılan bir de leylek
We have
şeyi
a
var,
second
resmi var.
century apocryphal
O
writing called the Acts of
Sabine'nin
Paul and Thekla that tells
yazılarında
us a
falan
story that
resmi
when
dahi
Paul was
var.
in Iconium
Orayı
on
nasıl
the first
görebilirim
missionary
ben?
journey,
Bir
he
gün
was
ona
preaching
özel
the gospel
gelirim.
to the people of Iconium. And there was a young woman by the name of Thekla who from her bedroom
Yani
window
orası
saw
örtülü.
Paul and heard Paul.
O örtüyü
She was
kaldırmak lazım. O ne
engaged to
zaman
a
kalkacak
wealthy
o örtü?
nobleman,
Tamam ben.
and as a consequence of listening to the gospel, she was convicted. She became a Christian. As a consequence of that decision, she decided not to marry the nobleman, which was a big affront to the nobleman, a huge embarrassment. And as a consequence, he caused problems. He wasn't the only one that caused problems, though. Thekla's mother, whose name is similar to Thekla, it is Thekleia. There's an iota that's put into that just before the final alpha.
Hadi geç.
And she puts pressure upon her daughter, extraordinary pressure upon her daughter, to continue with the engagement and the marriage. This is a matter of moving up in terms of one's status. I think I'd shared with you previously there was no upward movement in ancient society. Those of you who were born as peasants would remain peasants, and there was no opportunity to increase your economic or social status. Those who were wealthy people maintained that status, and they were the most respected citizens throughout the Roman Empire. So the reason why Thekla's mother, Thekleia, pressured her daughter is because she realized that it would be beneficial for the family to marry a nobleman. So what Thekla did is she left Iconium due to the persecution and began to follow Paul. Now, if you read the Acts of Paul and Thekla, the stories of her travels with Paul and apart from Paul even are heavily mythologized. There are miracles that take place. I'm not trying to discount the fact that some miracles could take place, but there are some miracles that are, well, probably didn't happen, okay? This is common in Christian literature, that there are legends that are told over the ages. I'm off, okay. I'll turn this off for another few minutes and see if I will continue with the story. Thank you for telling me. This is how I typically milk my camera battery also. Once it expires, if I don't have one that's available, turn it off, and 10 minutes later you'll get a couple more pictures. Okay, I'm back on. You can hear.
Hadi bul bize.
Okay.
Nerede tilkiler? Hadi.
Thekla, even though she's never mentioned in Scripture, never mentioned in the Acts of the Apostles, was a real person. I'm absolutely convinced. Many scholars are convinced. And the reason for that is we have what is called multiple attestation. We don't have just the apocryphal gospel that I've just mentioned, but the tradition of Thekla was spread throughout not only Anatolia, but also all of the Mediterranean world. So you can see inscriptions, you can see reliefs. For instance, I was invited to speak for a week in Kansas City this spring, and we visited Kansas City Museum. You can see a relief of Thekla in the Kansas City Museum, which they had picked up somewhere. I don't know where it originated. But the fact of the matter is there's multiple attestation of this tradition of Thekla, which leads us to believe that it's true. There really was a woman who converted. So what you will see here is, again, one of the places where Thecla is remembered, and it's painted onto this wall. Now, the cave that we're going to depicts Paul. You can see his name, Paulus, in Greek up on the wall. You can also see the name Thecla, who's just on Paul's right-hand side.
You should have gone.
And then on Paul's left-hand side, you can see a building.
Hey, go straight up there.
And on that building, you can see
Yeah,
Thecla herself.
Oops. Neredesin? Gelsene sen buraya. Düz mü devam ediyorum? Sorry.
Okay.
We will go. Please walk towards to him.